Hello, everyone, and welcome back to one more session of Address Real-Time Online Dispute Resolution Mechanism. Today, we have with us one more special guest, that is Mr. Hemant Rajora. Let me welcome him. Mr.
Thank you,
Hemant
Dr. Reddy.
Rajora, welcome to the session. He is based in Delhi and he's the in-house counsel with the Indraprastha Gas Limited. He's got vast experience with various types of company-related matters and arbitration. He's got a wide variety of profile, but we are limiting today's topic to oil and gas disputes and ODR mechanisms with that. So with this brief introduction, I'll hand over to Mr. Hemant and ask him to share a few opening remarks, please.
Thank you, Dr. Reddy, and thank you for making me part of this session. Let me give a brief perspective because I belong to energy sector and my entire experience is there. So I can just give you a snapshot of what exactly is the world scenario with respect to the energy sector, concentrating more on India. Like India is the third largest energy and it's a consumer in the world. It's fourth largest importer of LNG, which is liquefied natural gas. And it has always, like the energy basket we see, it is almost increasing. Like right now, it is 8% of the total energy which natural gas is using. And in 2030, the target is 15%, which we are likely to achieve. Similarly, with respect to the downstream network, like city gas distribution, where I belong, that is also increasing. Almost 90% of the area has been covered, geographical area has been covered, and most of the population also, 98%, that is already covered. So entire map, the CGD has already mapped it, and it's already penetrating into the energy sector where they are supplying it to the domestic consumer, the industrial, the commercial, and also as a fuel, like we get it in CNG stations. So this is a brief thing about energy sector. Coming to different streams which are there in energy, we have got upstream, which talks about exploration of the gas, the oil, crude oil. Then we have a midstream where they transport it. Like we have a few Maharatna companies and all the oil marketing companies which are there. Then we have got a downstream also, which is a very important sector because a lot of my experience has been there, and they are very well regulated by one of the very respected regulator like Petroleum and Natural Gas Regulatory Board, which do the bidding for the entire geographical areas in India. It basically covers the natural gas, which we get it through pipe in our houses as a fuel, which we get it filled from CNG stations. So this is the entire aspect which is there. Coming to my core area, like arbitrations you just talked about and all, and I just see there is a very good thing which has come up, like online dispute resolution, because I have been working in this area as a in-house counsel for many years and different organizations. It is always an endeavor to see that generally we see that the dispute is contained or how we can avoid it. I can understand it is very difficult to do it because we don't have a control over the other party. But they can go into litigation directly, skip those processes. But we have to have some inbuilt mechanisms built into our contracts and agreements, which can really help us. So I think this is one of the thing which we already have traditional forms, like we have mediation, conciliation, we have got arbitration, which is already there. But I'm just thinking about a pre-step which is there, which can at least contain some of the disputes going into the litigation. Even if as a in-house counsel, I'm able to do it 40 to 50% such disputes, that will really help the company and overall the scenario which is there with respect to the litigations.
Okay, Mr.
And
Hemant,
how to do it?
let me
Yeah.
ask a few questions, please. I'm trying to understand the scenario here. First, you said there are a few regulators. Now, these regulating bodies, have they incorporated any kind of mandatory arbitration into the statutes?
As of now, if we see the basic act, there is no mechanism with respect to the arbitrations
Okay.
if it is purely a regulatory dispute. But with respect to other disputes, like a midstream company or downstream company like us, which is dealing directly with B2B segment or B2C segment, we do have arbitration into it. So
In the
those clauses are
contract,
already there.
Is it in the contract or
Absolutely,
the
in the
statute?
contract we have it.
But it's not the
Statute,
statutory. Okay.
as of now, there is no mechanism with respect to arbitration because it's a regulatory thing, and it has to be regulator is the main body which have to has got the function to uh, basically basically settle the disputes.
Okay. Now,
That is through one of the, like we have got PNGRB which has got powers to settle the disputes. Then there is another forum called APTEL. It's a appellate tribunal to PNGRB where this appeal can go. Then straight away to Supreme Court from APTEL, it's a statutory appeal, so that can also be there. So as of now, it is not in regulatory perspective. There is nothing to do with arbitration, but definitely the parties, if they are willing to settle, they can always do that coming out of the court.
that is
But
obviously there.
since it's a it's concerning natural gas, which is controlled by government of India, so it will be very difficult to do an arbitration to those things. So I think that that's a major impediment into it.
Now, let me ask one more question. How many cases do you think exist all across India in this type of domain? Are we talking about hundreds of cases or thousands, or are they going to be in a few lakhs? Not in terms of
I
amount, but
think
number of cases.
so. This oil and gas sector is basically dominated by, as on data also, it is dominated by public sector undertakings, government of India, because they are typically into the Director General of Hydrocarbon is there. So coming into that aspect, if we see, it's almost like in lakhs matters are there. If we see, because 46% of the litigation, if we see of the is government, is basically the part of the entire litigation aspect.
So there
So
are
there are a lot of
significant.
disputes which are there, but I personally feel if we see this online dispute resolution into it, there are smaller disputes which
That's okay,
go
but
into litigation.
I'm just coming to first one point here is that there are quite a number of disputes here. It's not just a small number, but a big number of disputes. Correct?
Absolutely,
Okay.
absolutely. There are a lot of disputes because there are a lot of consumers. B2B segment, B2C segment is there.
Now, can you tell us what type of disputes come up in these type of cases?
Oil and gas sector generally have dispute because they have a gas supply contract
Hmm.
with the consumers. So generally, the dispute with respect to uh, connectivity issues are there. If you consider downstream, we have got certain billing disputes, small disputes which are there. There might be certain disputes where we are not able to connect those because of some regulatory regime. Those disputes are also part of it.
What about the bigger level at the government to or the regulator to the gas exploration related issues?
Absolutely, those sector, if we consider that upstream sector, those disputes are really very high stake. And since the it's a very capital intensive sector with respect to exploration and all, so those disputes which are even country to country are there. So those definitely high stake matters are there.
What types of disputes usually crop up in these types of upstream matters?
Sometimes it's basically with respect to uh, its exploration is there. Then there can be certain aspects that suppose they are not able to do the work because of handing over of site or something. There can be dispute with respect to take or pay, which are there. Generally, it's a mechanism where it's a minimum guaranteed offtake. So those disputes are there. And generally, there are certain disputes with respect to contractors also, which come up. Because these generally these things are there is a consultant is there is a contractor. So what happens generally disputes with the contractors are with respect to the claims. Those crop up. So those are the disputes which I think majorly are there in this sector.
Now, again, with my limited knowledge, we usually go with the territory where we say from the edge, the border of our country into the ocean or the sea, we go certain extreme, certain nautical miles that is considered to be part of Indian territory. After that, it would be international territory. Are there high level disputes in these matters between the countries over the territorial aspects?
Territorial aspect, I have not seen much disputes with respect to that, but definitely since it is very the exploration in most of the gas, natural gas or oil is exported.
Hmm.
So those things in-house, if we have got different wells and everything, but there are certain disputes which are of international level. Generally the arbitration clause is there with respect to SEAC or LCIA or ICC. So those disputes becomes international arbitration part of it.
Now, in your experience, are there any, again, I don't need names, but generally wondering, any good qualified arbitrators specific to this type of domain?
We definitely, that's one of the point which is really very significant, because in this sector, which is a bit techno-legal
Hmm.
aspects are involved, and it's a specific sector. So we need like dedicated bar. So dedicated terminals arbitrator definitely is the need of an hour, but dedicated bar is also required, because we need people who have worked in this atmosphere where these disputes are there. They can generally go into deep into it, because a certain aspect of technical thing can change the entire nature of the dispute, and it can basically become a claim which is feasible becomes not feasible. So that knowledge and the legal aspect, I think we have certain good arbitrators who are there who are dealing with these aspects. It's basically, if it's a small aspect, we have got DIAC is something which is very specialized into it, and they have very good arbitrators who are basically into oil and gas sector. They have extensive experience.
Okay. Is there any organization where somebody can become a member to get this kind of techno-legal knowledge?
Absolutely. There are a lot of organizations are there. Even for in-house counsels, there is an organization called FICL is there. Then you have got ICA, you have got Scope. So these are the organizations where generally it is dominated by Maharatna companies, government departments, which are there. These organizations basically deal into these oil and gas disputes. So if you are a member of it, if you are part of it, their conferences and all, definitely there's a lot of things which are, and generally the seminars on oil and gas disputes they happen. We just recently we had one at Gandhinagar. It was organized by one of the Maharatna companies, and it was a great success because almost like 500 speakers were there, and the audience which benefited from it were students and also a lot of guest people who were there who wanted to listen to these oil and gas disputes.
Being an in-house counsel, how do you see the role of in-house counsels, in your opinion, in these types of matters?
The first role I think is very important is if you are able to contain the dispute, if you can avoid the dispute. I know a lot of things are there, but it won't. I am sounding a bit, but in-house, if we see, it is basically avoidance. If we can have some clause built into it, like we have a ADR clause, we already have it, conciliation, mediation, and all. But with technology coming into play, we have to basically elevate it. It has to be elevated to such a level that it becomes faster, it becomes efficient, it becomes seamless. Then, if even cross-examination is there, then we can avoid that. We can only have only document arbitrations if they are smaller disputes, which do not have such legal implications where you need evidence. Coming to aspect, another aspect, I think it's a financial prudence also part, which a in-house counsel has to see. Because that financial prudence we have to see, then these things which are coming up like online dispute, we can always relate to it because these are cheaper also. We can save a lot of money on traveling to different places, different geographical areas, even abroad. People can be online and that dispute can be settled. So this is something which we are looked into.
On a lighter side, I would say that's not a good idea because, on the pretext of arbitration, I wanted to roam the world. But anyway, that was okay. Now we are reaching the end of our time. So, may I ask you for any closing remarks or a comprehensive statement that you'd like to make?
I think the traditional methods which are there for alternate dispute resolution, I think it is reaching to certain such a stage that now we have technology into it. So technology is like, suppose you have a cricket match, right? You have got sneakometer, you have got in football, VAR is VAR is there, VAR is there. So those technology basically leverages the experience which we have for such matches and all. Similarly, in these ODR, if online dispute resolution, we can have those technologies built into it. E-discovery is there. A lot of consumer matters are there, which can be easily solved through these mechanisms. So my only closing remark is that Niti Aayog has come up with a very good document of 2021, which has certain recommendation which has been accepted also. In fact, the Mediation Act has come because of their recommendation only. So that Mediation Act, a lot of policies are coming up. Now, a lot of things like national payment, MSME has come up with Samadhan scheme. We have got e-lok adalas built into it. Even High Court and Supreme Court, judicial intervention and encouragement is there. They want use of technology into these arbitration that has been already validated by them. So my thing is that if as in-house counsel, we can just use these technologies to our benefit, and these traditional methods can be faster, cheaper, efficient, and it delivers a major goal, justice for all. So that is something which we are looking at.
Okay, so on the note of justice for all, I think that's a very nice statement. We can probably end the session on that. So I thank you for your time and helping us understand this process. Of course, it's a very, I'll say, ocean, which is synonymous to this sector, but we have touched upon a few aspects, maybe some more details in the future sessions. So until then, I once again thank you for your time. Namaste.
Thank you very much.